Hello, welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
We're getting Batman with it. Batman as always, but you know, you never have too much Batman in life. And this right here, in my opinion, is one of the best Batman books I think ever made. And I feel like it's one of those books that sort of gets kind of brushed to just like the corner of the shelf, and people go, oh, it's like that before Bane book, where Venom was introduced. Well, that's cool. I guess I'll get around to it. And I think they just don't think much of it, being like, oh, it's got some drugs in it. Drugs are bad, but maybe on a Saturday night when I'm alone and by myself, then they're not bad.
This book does have a little. This book does have a little bit of like, it was maybe kind of like Finance by Nancy Reagan.
I guess, but not really. It does have
not to a horrible degree, not to a too overly not to a hey kids, don't do drugs. Here's Alf to tell you why it's bad.
Yeah, it definitely does have it is definitely, I guess you would say, a total 80s anti-drug book. 'Cause I think it is literally 89 or something like that. 91, never mind. But still, it's that total winners don't use drugs in your fucking fighting game. But go out and kill those fucking dirty criminals on the street as brutally as possible, because their lives don't matter.
And once you knock over that trash can, eat some chicken, because that's going to heal you somehow.
Yeah. It's probably filled with drugs, because God knows what those guys were doing with that chicken beforehand.
Well, I'll say that this is one of those books that, back when I was kind of first getting into reading Batman, this is one of those graphic novels I'd always see on the shelf, and I always kind of go buy it. And I look at it like Venom, that's the drug Bane uses, right? And I flip through it, and I'm like, I don't see Joker, I don't see Bane, I don't see Scarecrow. Okay, putting it back. And that's kind of what I went off of, really, when I was just first getting into it. I kind of wanted, let's get characters that stick around. And for a while, I kind of was putting this book off. And then as time went on, you learn more comics, you know more writers and artists and whatnot. And then I recognized, Dennis O'Neil wrote this. And by that point, I was a fan of Dennis O'Neil. And then you said this book is really good. You know what? I need to figure out I gotta read this book already. And I read it probably, actually, in all honesty, I probably went out and bought it maybe around 4 months ago and read it. And then you said for this podcast, let's cover Venom, because that's one of your favorite Batman books. And I'm not going to say it's one of my favorites, but it's a really good one, and I think it's something that people often overlook.
Yeah, and I think what's the interesting thing about it is it's a Batman book where there's no, as I said, there's no recognizable villains in it, but it's almost what makes it feel very, very fresh. It's, it's you don't really have another Batman book out there like it, and it's kind of a grounded and real, grounded, but not in such a bad way that it's it's trying to bed, but just as hey, here's a story where Batman's kind of taken on just some almost would seem kind of regular, everyday, real life kind of villains. You know what I mean? Nobody's really super in it, but then it still adds this extra layer in there. I mean, shit, and it's got one of, I think, the best intros to any story. Very, very tragic, but it is one of those ones where Batman's on the case. He's got all, he's been tracking down this, little girl who's been missing and so on. He's, followed in with all his detective work. He's found out that she's down the sewer well and whatnot. He can hear her voice. He's almost about ready to fucking solve it. And as he's going down there, he's like, I'm going to get you. It's going to be okay. You're going to be out here in 5 minutes. And as he keeps going down, he finds these rocks and he's throwing them out of the way. Just no problem whatsoever. I don't fucking fail. I'm Batman. And then he gets this one rock, and no matter how hard he fucking tries, it's too heavy. And he's trying to lift it in all different types of angles, and the water's coming up on the other side, and fucking little Sissy or whatever, or Susie, what was her name?
Sissy. It was definitely Sissy.
Yeah,
Sissy.
Sissy.
With me. I don't know if you're made to live and make it through this world if your name is Sissy. You're saying.
Well, Sissy sounds like somebody that would be someone's
from the 40s.
Yeah, that's someone's grandma's name. It's oh, there's Grandma Sissy over there. You know what I mean?
Or Aunt Sissy, maybe.
Yeah, or Aunt
Sissy. Over here, darling.
So no matter how hard Batman tries, he can't fucking lift the rock, and then the girl just ends up drowning. And it's that's one of those ones where if you're a parent, be well, my kid's in the Batman, and it's 1991, let's see what this, oh shit, a kid fucking dies in the first 4 pages.
And Batman's popping pills a few pages after that.
And then Batman's just Alfred, I failed. I'm just not good enough. I Alfred's Bruce, did you really think that at some point, you were going to fail? He's no, I literally thought I was going to win every fucking time. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones, if I lost, I could always blame it on the controller. Or I could always blame it on this. something else. You know what I mean? But I didn't think I'd have to blame it that I wasn't strong enough. I couldn't do it. That wasn't what I was expecting, Alfred.
The sun was in my eye. Like you do all your shit at night, Bruce. Yeah, well, it was like the moon. The moonlight was in my eye. It was very bright that night. So you get it, right?
It was
not my fault.
The sun was rising up over China. I just happened to be swinging high enough to see it.
No one swings higher than me. I'm Batman.
I swing higher than Superman. He can't even swing that high.
No, he doesn't need to. He needs to fly. Yeah, because he can't fucking doesn't have the pecs I have to get the momentum to swing up that high. Like, all right, Bruce. Okay.
He's like, okay, well, I better go tell that guy that I couldn't save his fucking daughter. It's 4 a.m. If it's any earlier, it's gonna be fucking weird if I show up.
Oh, he seems very oddly cool with it. Okay, which I'll say they make the what was the doctor's name? Potter or something like that, or was that his name?
I think it was something like that. But
it was a very generic name. But the whole thing with him is right here, because how chill and so like whatever. My daughter died. It's just one of those things. Okay, he was involved. Like, oh no, he wasn't involved. Everyone's after his research, and they were using his daughter as ransom. And he's like, I don't give a shit about my daughter. I got my magic pills. Why the fuck do I care about my daughter? You know? And it's one of those things where I'm going to say I knew that he was going to be a villain, but I'm going to say that was a little bit of a red herring for me, because I just assumed, he staged it somehow to test Batman, but wasn't the case. Just some assholes kidnapped the daughter, and he didn't care.
Yeah, it's like his work was more important. And the weird thing about it is Batman almost kind of goes like, your daughter's dead? Oh, well, okay, I guess I'll go on the next crime then. Shit, I guess that bothered me way more than it bothered you. That's fucking weird. I didn't expect that to happen either.
Well, then he goes out
and then
trying to track down the guys. He goes out trying to track down the guy, because while he's there, somebody comes in to, like, fuck with him. And he's like, I'm on the case! And he goes after those guys. And then, they don't really flat out say right off the bat, but through context clues, this takes place early in his career. This actually takes place, like, shortly after year 1, because he's already dealing with, because he's already talking about, like, District Attorney Harvey Dent, and Commissioner Gordon is only Captain Gordon at the moment.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So it is kind of early on. Because they're like, well, Batman wouldn't take drugs when he's in his 40s.
Yeah, he wouldn't be doing that then. So
he's got to be a youthful, like, scamp, of 32.
And then some of the very guys that kind of came and fucked with him the other night, he goes after him, and he's just not strong enough for one of them. He gets chucked out a window.
And then Batman's like, I better go and clean and press this weight. And he's like, Alfred, I can't clean and press more than, like, 668. Like, I'm a fucking failure, just like my father said I would be. You're like, Bruce, nobody has cleaned 668 pounds that's not fucking Superman. Well, fuck you. That's, you know what? If Superman can do it, why can't I do it? I'm all-American. He's all-American. He's from another planet.
And then that's where he finally kind of gives in and just says, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. I'll take some of these pills because I need to be stronger. If I'm going to be dealing with superhuman shit, I might as well become a superhuman. And then that's where he suddenly does do the weight. And that's where we suddenly get a little bit of a hint of shit's going to go back. Because he goes back and fucks all those guys up that, like, threw him out a window. But then, here's what's interesting. I don't think this is coincidental. I think this is intentional. We have Smiley Batman. Hands on the hips, Smiley. And the thing about Smiley Batman is, back in the day, I mean, every so often you might get black on the cowl just through shading, and then everything else is blue. But this is in a very Adam West fashion. In this like, on page 31, bottom left panel, he has that very Adam West kind of like look on his face, but it zooms in and he starts doing the crackhead laugh, and it becomes more warped and more creepy looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it totally becomes like that, because it's like he's just, because I think like the sort of the way they make the Venom, it's not like, I think someone might assume right off the bat it's gonna be, it's gonna be just like fucking the way Bane's kind of works, and it's like no, this is like an earlier formula. So it's almost like Batman, not only does Batman get kind of strong, it's almost like he gets fucking high and hopped up all at the same time.
Yeah, and just this idea of it right here, of just...
It's like
just
almost like he's taking PCP or something, really.
Batman of Zathuraha, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
No, but even in this picture right here, just the idea of it's Batman, and he's like, yes, I just beat up that villain. Ha ha ha! just goes full on like crackhead at the end. But then, it seems like he's under control, but you see he is getting more violent and more like needing this drug. And you see him, he starts going out doing his Matches Malone thing. And he's like, I don't need a costume. It's too tight. It doesn't fit me anymore. I'm too jacked for that costume.
Yeah, just like, he's like, whatever. I'm so good. I can fucking hide my identity the whole time I do it. So it's almost like he's getting ballsy and careless and reckless. And Alfred's just kind of doing the thing like, oh, sir, it's like if you're not going to just destroy the Batcave when you're strutting around, and if you put some damn fucking pants on, you're not the Incredible Hulk.
I like how he is kind of like a petulant kid. Like, get the fuck out of my room, Alfred. I just want to lift like 600 pounds by myself. God, can you leave me alone? Just go away. That's the idea, Bruce. Well, good.
No, he really becomes like that 15-year-old kid you would see like in a PSA where it's like, Timmy, are you taking drugs? No, Dad, I'm not taking drugs. It's like, Timmy, what's that needle doing in your arm? I don't know. It's Bob's from school. He just like fucking left it there.
I sure I see what it's all about. Is that a beer bottle jammed up your ass? So what if it is, Dad? I'm trying to be open-minded, unlike you. It's like, tell your kids about, I forgot what it's called, but that fucking, is there a thing where there like apparently some trend going on for a while where kids are like
chugging beer in their butt?
Like ass chugging basically. Talk to your kids about ass chugging.
That just reminds me of more like that is totally like the bro like double dog dare you thing. Like, you got a beer bong, we've had way too many, like, dude, shove it in my butt. Like, yeah, dude, go for it. And then for some reason, just someone
heard about it. Someone heard about it, and then they decided to do like a 6 o'clock news piece on it.
Yeah, like, a
sweeping the nation.
Girl, like, shoved rum up her butt and is dead today. It's just like, I just feel like you didn't think that just sounds like a bad idea all around. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how much you like alcohol. I just feel like shoving beer up your butt just doesn't seem like this.
Well, I guess there's that alternative, because when you first start drinking,
you're like, oh, it tastes nasty.
Ew, it tastes gross. So it's like, okay, well, you can have two things. You can either plow through it and chug it, or we could just jam it up your ass. Jamming up my ass sounds a little better right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, as long as there's not a mirror around here, so I don't feel like I'm gay. Oh no, we'll take the mirrors out. Okay, yeah, I'll just do a butt chug.
Okay, you want Coors or Coors Light?
Oh, we don't have any. We just got Keystone Light.
I think my butthole's gonna know the difference. I don't know.
He's like, I don't know. What's the difference? I don't know. This one, I got 24 for $10.
All right, chug away. Get the tube.
Well, as Batman becomes just like the douche.
He doesn't go to that point. He doesn't start like Venom chugging up his ass. He doesn't start doing nothing like that.
He just gets super obsessed with his weights, and it kind of has that thing where where he's just like, I fucking just hate fucking wimps, Alfred. Don't be a fucking pussy. Like, just fucking work out, fucking eat this steak, and just take some drugs, Alfred. Like, it's what the kids are doing nowadays, and I want to be part of the cool kids club.
And stop taking away my Pantera tapes.
Yeah. Fucking Cowboys from Hell is where it's fucking at. Just get out of here, Alfred. You just can't fucking handle the loudness. You know what I mean? You know what they say when you can't handle the music anymore? You're getting too old. Alfred's
been gone for like the last 15 minutes. He's talking to himself this whole time. He's just so jacked. He doesn't have enough. His muscles are too bulky. He can't turn around and look over his shoulder. So
this one almost becomes like that King of the Hill episode where Bill gets the old school gym equipment put into his garage, and then at first it starts off as the community fun center, and then he gets Macho Man Randy Savage and his friends to come on over.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I gotta check it out now.
It's literally one of my favorite King of the Hill episodes. I mean, the moral of the story I kind of like is a little bit it's that kind of thing where you don't want to get too buff, but it's like, I don't know about that one. But it's still fucking hilarious the whole way through, because it's Macho Man shows up and they're like, oh, Bill's fucking lifting heavyweight. Put the death metal tunes on.
I can just imagine from there, it's like they're playing death metal at 3 o'clock in the morning. Damn it, I like a good old song. I like a good old rock song like anyone, but 3 o'clock in the morning, it's pushing it.
Literally, there's a scene like that.
I'm just putting it together. I'm just really putting it together. But I didn't even see the episode, but I can definitely see something like that. But Yeah, well, by then, like, Batman's like, I'm low on my pills, I gotta get my fix. And he goes back to Potter, or whatever his name is. And that's where he's like, oh, here's this general that's here. Like, oh, hey, guy, he dresses like a bat. Hey, what's up? Oh,
no big deal. Hey, this sounds so funny. That's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's just this general guy, just at my house at 2 a.m.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, he's like, it's like Batman or the General, neither of them are phased, like, here's a dishonorably discharged general at my house at 2 a.m, all dressed up in his general outfit, and then he's just like, that's a guy dressed like a bat. Alright, okay, cool. They're both like, oh, one second, I just gotta make a quick little, like, supplement deal here, I'm basically your GNC, here you go, and then he's like, yeah, there's only 4 pills here, I might just get by with 4 pills. Is that a problem? I'll be back for him later. So it's one of those things where he's like, don't worry, we'll have him by next week. Like, oh shit, they're trying to hook him. And then I like how Batman's just going through. He's just like, this fucking nerd starts beating up this kid out in the yard. He's just like this tall, lengthy Forrest Gump like guy. Like, oh, my daddy doesn't want me out there. He's like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You're a good boy.
Yeah, it's like my daddy says he hates fucking sissies, wussies, and the Jews. And it's like, oh well. Your daddy's it's just a different time period, son.
That's where a little old Batman comes out, and like not even like 90s Batman, because I feel like even 90s Batman by this point, or not actually, maybe not 90s Batman. 90s animated series Batman would have put a cape around him, like, listen, you're fine the way you are, depending on who it is. But I feel like a little past that, he just give like a quick little 1 or 2 like hard love kind of thing, like just like a real man chooses his own destiny or some shit like that. I'm like bat lines away, you know what I mean? Something kind of like that. But right here, he has a little bit of compassion. It's like, okay, so there's a little bit of Batman in there still. And then, he starts going after, some like another gang war kind of deal. And he picks up a fridge, throws it out the fucking.
I love it because like they give like so much fucking like page space to this too. It's like they're like, oh, they're getting away, but not from Batman, and Batman just chucks that fridge through a wall, and then it just smashes the fucking getaway car. And I just love it. It's not a splash panel, but it's just like a double wide or a double like layered panel, just fucking destroys it. Then you get the kind of Batman look coming up.
Well, I also feel like that's something we totally would have seen like Ben Affleck Batman do.
Yeah, one of those ones just where like just destroys everything to get the mission accomplished.
Yeah, and he's even kind of like, I guess again across to this Batman, he is enjoying it, so he is starting to lose himself to this whole thing. And after that, he has to go to Gordon for a minute, I think to get some information. She's like, how's Barbara and the kids? You never asked about Barbara and the kids before, so what the fuck's going on now? Why are you asking now? Keep it professional. Like, sorry, I was just wanting drugs, and I was trying to, occupy my mind other ways,
I was just thinking, like, Barbara's going to
what's
school.
Going on there.
She probably knows some dirty, grungy hippies. It's 1991. There's got to be one of them in there that's fucking listening to Pearl Jam that could get me something.
Barbara knows some people, I'm sure.
I'm sure, you know what I mean? Shit. You're going to send her to Burnside, aren't you?
As you pull off the highway exit, there's just a giant pot leaf. I mean, that's not what I'm looking for, but that's the right direction.
That will be my gateway to what I really need. I even like it. It's even got that part too, where like Batman kind of says to Jim, he's like, "Hey, those cigars are bad." He's like, "Yeah, tell me something that I don't fucking know."
Yeah, cigars are bad. This is bad. Da da da. Yeah, I still smoke them. And yeah, what the fuck are you doing here? He's like, okay, bye. It was like one of the few times where
they go, "See, you don't got any magic pills?" No. Well, why would I have them? I don't know. Maybe he has some in the locker. But I don't fucking know.
Well, that whole conversation, because he's going in there, and at some point Jim gets across like someone's going around in an overcoat and a trench coat beating people up. You know anything about that? He's like, no. Okay, because you haven't been seen in a while. Yeah. So it's one of those things where, even in this book right here even in this scene really, it's kind of one of the few times he goes to Jim Gordon for like trying to be all hard and have information and this and that, but then like he has nothing to contribute. And Jim is like, why the fuck you stop by here? I'm fucking working, man. It's like, oh, awkward. Okay. I just want to talk to a friend, but bye.
Well, you kind of show that like Batman's sort of just off his game too. It's like he's not like in like the the hardcore like Bat mode where like he's really dialed in and he knows everything that's going on. It's just like he's kind of like, oh shit, I show up here, but I don't have anything to really talk about. But hey, how's the wife and kids? And it's like almost breaking his character.
Mm-hmm. And then they have this whole part where he goes back to the Batcave. Fuck everybody. He starts bench pressing and lifting again. Then he realizes he's out of pills. He's like, I gotta go back to my guy. He goes there. He's like, I'll give you pills, but someone's been kind of snooping in on our operation we got going here. We need you to step in. Like, all right, what do you need me to do? He says, we need you to kill Commissioner Gordon. He's like, all right, cool, I can do that. And he was never really fully agreeing to it, but he's trying to think of a way around to get the pills, but then go after Gordon. That's where he pumps it, like Gordon's out walking his dog. He's, oh, hey, Gordon, what's going on? Hi. And then,
I love because like when he does it, he like jumps out of the tree like a maniac, like I'm gonna kill you. That was the mission I was sent to do.
Yeah.
And the whole point.
I'm gonna kill you is what I would say if I was here to do that.
And I love because it's like it kind of explains because there's kind of like there's a nice like the narration in it. It's almost like it's not like the inner monologue. It's literally like a full on just narration, and it kind of has like Jim Gordon's out walking his dogs. You can tell he's still stiff. His shoulders are pressed up. Even though he's trying to unwind right now, there's no way he could ever. He's always once a cop, always a cop kind of thing. Of course, Batman just comes fucking jumping out of the trees like a maniac.
I even like how he doesn't even look all that scared when Batman's jumping in. He still has his hand in his like jacket, like he's ready to shoot him. Like, all right, what the fuck is this? And then that's where he says like, what's he say? He flat out says to him, "I'm going after them now. Maybe I'll get them. If not, you hit them in the morning. You hear me?" And he's grabbing him by the collar, like,
just like
yeah,
freaking
you
out.
could have said it from there. Yeah.
I gotta say this too. Right before you get to that Jim Gordon scene, I love when he goes back looking for the drugs. He literally just kicks down the fucking scientist's door, and the scientist and the general fucking at 2 a.m. once again, not phased at all that he just came in and just kicked that door fucking off its hinges. Like it's the entrance.
We're drug dealers. We can afford new ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about to own a whole island. Yeah. And then that's where he goes out there and he tries to... He's on to like, I'm on to you, dealer. I'm on to you, you fucking general asshole. This and that. Then, like, that's where the guy pulls out a bag of pills. It's like, fetch, boy, fetch! And throws it into the fucking bushes. Then goes after him.
Yeah, just like totally lose it. He's like, oh shit. And then I love because he has like that moment like where it's like 4 a.m. He's like, Alfred, I'm in a payphone. I'm all alone.
He's like, I'm sorry to pull like a page out of Anthony Kiedis' autobiography within the first 4 pages, but I need a ride. Some people are after me.
He's like, I didn't know who else to call. And this is where you get to like the moment where Batman's like, "There's only one way. You're gonna help me." And Alfred's like, "Whoa! We could take you to counseling. We could take you to No, Batman does this alone. Batman fixes all his problems. Batman knows what's right. Alfred, lock me in the Batcave for 4 weeks." A whole month, sir? Yes, 4 weeks. Like most people just need 3 days to go cold turkey. No. It's gonna take more than that. I took a lot of fucking drugs in a short time period.
Batman goes. He goes hard. I don't mean to backtrack, but I do want to say, going back to, like... I know we already spoke on this, but... Going back to the payphone thing, and... I can read this and feel sad, but when talking about it, I can't help but kind of laugh, and I'm not trying to make light of it, because it is a good story, and this is a good part, but in other contexts, it's just kind of funny. Just the idea of, like, you're walking alone at, like, 3 a.m, and then you look in at, like, you walk by a payphone, and you see Batman in the payphone. Not only that, he's crying in the payphone, like, what the fuck is going on? Is he calling, like, an ex? Like, is he calling Catwoman right now or some shit?
Well, that's the thing is like I feel like we're having fun with the book right now as we talk about it, but like when you do read it though, this thing is like full on fucking. You're like in it. It's fucking serious. It's hard. It's heavy, but it's also like you can kind of look at it in like a fun way too. I think.
Yeah, and that's not me trying to like, hey, we should start taking this more seriously before we continue forward. It's not that at all. But I'm just thinking, like, just in the context of just like, oh, Batman's here. Is he crying in a fucking payphone? Oh, now he's punching the phone? Like, oh, this is just a bad scene. You know, I assumed he, had a bat phone on him. I know it's 91, but I assume he has a bat phone on him by this point.
He probably lost at the club earlier.
Or he's just like calling, like behind him there's like a row of like a bunch of like girls just got done clubbing for the night. Like, our taxi left. We need you to come pick us up, Jacob. Like, you're just like, Batman's like, can I use the phone next?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's real important. Oh, who you calling? Oh, I gotta call my butler.
Yeah, they're just like, in the meantime, like, no, it's fucking sucks. They took all our E. They drove off. We have no idea where the fuck Stacy is. Batman's like, I really need to use the phone.
Yeah, here's a pill of Venom. I mean, I'm not gonna take it because I feel wrong. You know, you could Venom. Well, that sounds fun. You say this now. Well, here you go, girls, go. Looks like your life ain't getting any better, anyways.
Well, I like that. The thing is, because this comes back around, and we could say it now because it comes off kind of offhand randomly, but when he grabs those pills and he pours the pills out, like, I'm not gonna use these. I'm not gonna succumb to that. But the thing is, later we find out that the doctor actually made those pills to poison him and kill him right there, because he was like, he's so addicted by this point, and we can't rely on him anymore. So we'll just poison him and kill him. And if he kind of gave in to that moment of weakness, he would be dead right there. So, and he doesn't even know that.
Yeah, he never does. He just, well, because that's the thing is the pills keep changing every single time he goes in for them. They're never really exactly the same. And, this last one is just being like, dude, that Batman guy's getting fucking crazy. Remember when he kicked down our fucking door and then he said he was going to kill Commissioner Gordon and then just never did that? He came and fucking attacked us? Yeah.
Got some murder pills for him. It's okay.
I also will say this. One thing I want to say, too, is just because we're flipping through, it's like, this one, for, like, all 5 fucking issues, has some of the best Batman covers I've ever seen, too. Like, especially the one when we get to, like, where we are right now. It's got the Batman, like, fucking sobering up, and he's got, like, he's in the bat suit, but he's taking the cowl off, and he's got a beard and just crazy man hair. Looks like he's a fucking, like, lumberjack or something. Just being like, ugh, fuck.
But that's only a month?
Yeah.
Maybe some Venom, like, just increases your hair growth after you, like, get off it or something. And then the issue after that, it's Batman wrangling a shark.
Yeah, exactly. That's like one of those ones, like, you see that, you're like, what the fuck are we getting into? But whatever it is.
I would like a poster of that in my living room.
I know, that's what I mean. It's like, all these ones are, like, such badass fucking covers. But, as Batman kind of is like, oh, I gotta go get fucking sober up, the General and the Scientist, they go down to, like, Santa Prisca or something like that.
I think, is that the island Bane's at?
Maybe.
Might be. I'm not entirely. Was his island a whole prison, or was there just a prison on the island? I don't really remember.
I thought there was just a prison on it. I wasn't too sure if it was exactly an island, but maybe it was.
If it is the same country or whatever, would make sense because it'd be easier for Bane to get a hold of this shit.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as they're there, they're like, well, we're going to fucking hide out. And in a couple of months, once everything's died down, we're going to go back and fucking kill that, Jim Gordon. He's just a fucking pussy. It's getting in the way of our fucking society. Like, this general guy's just so fucking angry, like, the whole time.
So, you watch MSNBC, don't you? You fucking pussy.
He's like, oh, I see what it fucking is. And, of course, down here, his son's like, he's out there just like, oh, I'm here, I hang out in the sun. Oh, hi, Mrs. Nice Mexican Lady, how you doing? My name's Forrest Gump.
Not very much.
And, of course, then, like, the dad's just like, ugh. The scientist's like, oh, it's good that your son's, found a girl. And so he's like, ugh, you're hanging out with the dirty natives. He'll probably get a disease. My son's a fucking idiot.
He does I don't know if the dad ever smiles in this book at all. He's just like, oh, your son found he's a little bit on the spectrum, but good for him. He found a nice, pretty lady out there. He's like, a little too tan for my taste. Like, oh, okay, well, shit, gotta leave this conversation. Gonna pretend like I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones. And then I like how it always cuts back between, like, what Batman's down in the cave and just Alfred's listening, and he's like, Alfred's, like, maintaining the house, doing his daily chores, but then he goes to man his post, hearing the intercom what's going on, just Batman down there like, oh, Jesus! It's
like at times he hears something breaking, at times he hears heavy breathing, it few times he thinks he hears light sobbing. Going back to Timmy for a second, 'cause that's the name of the kid.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The Forrest Gump ass guy. That I feel bad for him because he's
really do
not
too.
any way portrayed to be a bad guy. He's just someone who's just being taken advantage of by his father, and his father is just like they're basically him and the scientists are both using him as a guinea pig. This is my son was always a fucking failure, so now this is the one thing that might make him into something, and they're basically trying to turn him into Proto Bane. They never say that, but that's more or less what they're trying to do here. And with them like making him take Venom and do more workouts, this and that, he starts to become more angry and more aggressive. And they even start to do additional surgery on him, putting metal plates underneath like certain parts of his skin.
Yeah, and it's like, in the whole time too, this doctor keeps like changing the pills around, because like the whole point is he's just manipulating them over and over, making them the designer drugs and so on. But I think what makes also really sad about Timmy is because Timmy's just like, my father's my favorite person ever. I love my father so much. You know what I mean? Like, he's the greatest guy in the world. Did you know that he's a war hero and all that stuff? And it's just like this guy that loves his father more than like almost anybody could love their father. His dad fucking just hates the living daylights out of him. I think that's what makes it just such like a sad part.
Yeah, like that is a very genuinely sad concept right there. And plus, the kid doesn't even really fully realize what's going on. And at some point the girl's like, "You've changed. Like, you shut up!" and just pushes the girl. So and he can't even really control it. He doesn't know what the fuck's going on by this point. And then but eventually Batman comes out of the cave looking like Jeremiah Johnson, and he's ready to basically go back out there, and he says, "All right, yep, I slimmed down a bit, and it's going to take me some time, but I got to kind of get back in track." And I guess this whole thought process, because he's been there for a month, but he does, and I don't think he initially goes after all the generals for a while. I think he's like, you know what? I could go over there and die, or I can kind of get back in shape. So I'm going to take a few months, fight crime in the city, get back in my game, and then go after these assholes.
Yeah, because that's what I kind of picture being like a 3-month period. Like, he sobers up for a month, and then he trains for 2 months to get back at it, And then he was
and
like...
in that time, they have more Venom soldiers.
Yeah, and they start, creating kind of a small army down there and everything like that. And this part, too, it's even sad, too, is like, fucking Timmy, like, he gets angry at his girlfriend, because she's like, "Timmy, why don't you just say the poem that you said?" He's like, "Poems are fucking stupid. I fucking hate poems." And then he, like, literally, like, slaps her head against the wall, and it, like, explodes. Just fucking brutally murders this poor girl. And it's just that kind of thing, like, it's just like, oh shit, like, because in a sense, like, Timmy's life was almost going perfect. He's like, oh, I got a girlfriend, she's fucking hot, I gotta hang out with my dad, who's my favorite person ever, we're on fucking vacation island. And then it just kind of just goes down that dark path of him turning into this soldier and losing his emotions and getting those drugs programmed in.
And then by that point, Batman's coming in like on not this. This almost seems very Christopher. I mean, I guess granted, at this time they weren't even trying to do this. They were just trying to come with an excuse. Like, well, you don't want to fly the bat plane in the broad daylight, so why don't you just fly like a private jet or something? Just fly it over. So he's flying over. He's going to parachute in, and so is Alfred, because what ends up happening is the guy has like a Russian like rocket launcher. He's going to shoot at this thing, and when they actually get by, he's like, "Oh, these stupid commies can't even make a right weapon."
Yeah, I know. He's
totally blaming the controller.
Yeah, exactly. One of those ones. Well, God, there's even like right before they fly in over that, there's also like this test that they do of like all those kind of like Proto Bane like soldiers, and they just literally go into a town and just murder everybody.
Whoever snaps the most next gets a Twinkie tonight. Like, oh!
Yeah. And I even like with like the scientist guys, like he's just sitting there, he's like the general comes in, he's like, "Are you taking fucking drugs too?" He's like, "Well, I've designed these ones so that, I can become smarter. They're perfectly designed for me." He's like, "I can make some for you, that would help fix your constipation." And the general's like, "I like the pain." And it's funny because, like, if you look at the book, because, like, the page that he says that on, and if you just kind of look over to the right side, there's literally a picture of him, like, down below. It's like, that could be him sitting on the toilet right now, for all I know. It's like the one time that he's close to like a smile.
So that's when I really feel alive.
It's like, I'm building my own brick mansion.
Just the thought. Actually, that's right. That is kind of a smile right there. Just the idea of murder. Which I'm going to say, I mean, I'm not saying he shares these personality traits, but let's not lie. This dude looks a lot like my dad. And I know a lot of people listening, that means nothing to them, but I'm just saying.
No, I was thinking the same thing, too. I mean, a lot of times, if there's a guy who's like an older gentleman with a big mustache, you know, and kind of like that scowling
doesn't smile,
look.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does. I mean, shit. If you drew your dad in a comic book, people would probably think it's that character right there, almost. I guess you just need the glasses, is all.
But going on, so eventually they fly over. Batman and Alfred just fly over this just for a reconnaissance mission. So much so that he's not even in his bat outfit yet. Like, we'll probably attack tomorrow, but let's just fly over now, do some reconnaissance. Like, that's a fucking rocket. Let's fly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love how just Batman pushes fucking Alfred out of the plane. Like, parachute on, go, Alfred. Remember your MI6 training. Oh shit, they haven't wrote that into the continuity yet. Oh, whatever.
Everything became a lot easier. I mean, there was like a point when like Scott Snyder and Somewhere in All-Star Batman was writing a flashback Alfred story, and I gotta go back and read it. But at some point, we find out Alfred was like, you know, like a punk, like a street punk in England, like hopping aboard like, you know, like tour buses and whatnot to get away from cops, flipping the bird to them.
Yeah. It's like there's interesting different backstories for all the Batman type stuff, but I do always love like.
The thing that's funny about it is he still had like little like tiny little pencil mustache. So even though he's supposed to be young, he still looks like, you know, 70-something-year-old Alfred in punk clothes flipping the bird.
Yeah. I mean, I always like the old the X007 type thing. I always think that's kind of neat.
I like that too. Yeah. Well, I think it's like he was a gutter punk and then he went into the military. I think that's kind of what it was. But,
yeah, that's almost like Kingsman.
Yeah, I he probably pulled inspiration from that. Wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Mark Miller and Snyder were friends. I have no idea if they are, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were.
I bet you they run into each other once in a while at DC.
At cons or whatever. Yeah. Anyway,
I like how Batman lands in this tree. Is like, okay, there's some natives down there. Not gonna harm them whatsoever. Oh shit, a macaw just flew by. Well, fuck that.
Looks like some punching's gotta happen.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, don't blame me. It's the macaw. Bam.
Yeah. If you guys just didn't have such loud birds down here,
it's really your fault when you think about it.
Yeah. Remember, the moral of the story, guys, is it's always the controller's fault, not you, not the user.
And that's where the general comes down. He's like, there's a guy dressed like a bat on this fucking island. You need to track him down and kill him.
Well, yeah, then they do this thing where it's kind of, like, interesting. It's like they've tied Alfred. They capture Alfred, and they tie him up in like, the shower, or in the ocean, cut his ankle so that he's bleeding out so that the sharks will come on by. You know, and Batman's like, oh, what the fuck? And just kind of rips his, you know, top off and then just swims out there with this big old fucking shark coming by. And as he's cutting through to get Alfred out and whatnot, you know, he's like, sir, the sharks are coming. He's like, yeah, Alfred, I see the fucking shark coming.
Well, I like how just like a couple natives come by just to watch. Like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah.
This looks like fun. For a second, I thought I misread that, and I thought, like, I had to go back and double check. Like, are those guys the guys they pay to, like, you know, maintain and make sure the shark shows up or whatever? But then, like, no, they're just a couple of guys there watching, which is whatever, okay. But then, like, you know, Batman full on has wrestles Jaws here, and at some point, like, grabs a piece of the log Alfred's attached to, stabs the shark in the fucking eye. Then all the other sharks, like, gang up and start to go after that one. But after that, they're like, oh, I need something to swim into. I need something to swim into. Like, get out of the fucking boat. Get out of the fucking boat. He's like, you know what? Fuck you. And just flips the boat over.
Well, this is the part, too. Like, was like, well, these are like some of those moments where it's like, okay, Batman doesn't technically kill, but he sure sends these people to their death. Because he flips that fucking boat over.
Something like, they dismiss it with like, oh, they had shark repellent. Look at that.
Well, no, he makes a joke. He's like, and I think it's supposed to be a joke towards like the 66 movie. he's like, if you have any shark repellent, I hope you use it. And the guy's just out there, just like, after he steals a fucking boat from these guys, shoves them out.
He doesn't even steal the boat. He just says, fuck you guys, and flips the boat over.
I guess that's right. And then both him and Alfred fucking front stroke it back in as these guys are left out there, fucking sharks eating them. Just be like, yeah, don't you fucking come out and laugh at me and my butler out there in the ocean swimming with sharks.
That's
like
my dad always said, poor people don't deserve boats.
It's almost that thing where, like, Batman doesn't kill unless someone's laughing at Batman. Then Batman has no choice.
I think because you see him chuck in something, so maybe in a panel, I'm like to assume that maybe they, not that I give a shit if those guys live or die, because they're not letting Batman in their boat, and they're there to watch him get eaten or whatever. But I mean, you see him chucking something over there. So maybe they have
swing their fucking oar at Alfred.
Yeah, fuck these guys. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Batman's like, self-defense. They're beating the old man.
Yeah, it's just like, that's just nature right there. Those sharks are hungry.
So we don't even see what happens to them because we don't see them getting ganged up on or anything. And that's where Batman goes on and he faces, he like just flat out like the dealer guy. The guy always has like kind of like a smarmy smile, and Batman just punches him in his fucking teeth. And that's where, Timmy comes up behind him and knocks Batman down. Like, all right, time to kill this fuck.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's got to fight fucking Timmy, and then he realizes he almost can't fucking defeat him no matter what, because he's just fucking solid as a rock and drugged up, and Dad's still not impressed.
Want to know who Timmy reminds me of now that I think about it?
Who?
He reminds me of Nuke from Marvel.
Oh, that's kind of... I can see that.
He was primarily a Daredevil character, but he popped in Captain America a few times, and he's like that failed super soldier with like the American flag tattooed on his face, and he's always popping pills like, give me a red, give me a white, and each pill like enhances him in some way.
Yeah, just he has got different abilities depending on which ones he takes. That's actually kind of a cool character. I kind of forgot about that character.
And he's almost corralled into doing things by like his superiors or his generals or whatever. Like, think of what they did. They left you guys behind. Left our boys behind. Our boys! Our boys! This is for our boys! And just goes in with a machine gun, just killing everything.
Yeah, Zach just goes like at him like a maniac.
Yeah. He's totally... Maybe Timmy's a ripoff of that, because this wouldn't have been that much later. But still, I mean, there's enough difference, but there's enough, I think, separation between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's almost like Timmy's supposed to be like the guy who's like as good as all can be, and almost saying that like, hey, you can go down that dark fucking path and whatnot, and fucking right here, fucking Timmy almost kills Batman, but the fucking scientist is like, whoa. I mean, like, I know I was gonna kill him like 3 months ago, you know what I mean? But like, that was just a precaution at the moment, And this time period I've changed. You know what? The Batman's gonna be a good fucking test subject, and you know what? Let's not unmask him. Like, he says like the most creepiest line ever. He's like, I don't want to unmask Batman right here. I want him to have to do it like a woman, like, giving out her virginity.
Some creepy-ass shit like that.
Yeah, I'd just be like, you know what I mean? Like, I want fucking him to, like, rub the lotion on as he's taking the fucking mask off for me. It just gets ultra creepy right there.
They play the best of the Butthole Surfers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the Butthole Surfers are pretty good, but...
They are good, but I'm just imagining a weird, creepy-ass, like, Silence of the Lambs scene to the song, like, they were drinking down a fountain, coming down a mountain, or something. Like just some weird-ass shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. So they take fucking Batman to, like, the dungeon, and then they actually set up this cool fucking trap. They almost, like, kind of brings the whole story right around, where there's like, hey, there's a fucking hook here, and you got 3 fucking days to, like, get this hook from, the top and pull it down and hook it around this latch and pull it up, and that will open the steel door. But there's going to be a dripping faucet that's going to fill up, and in 3 days' time, you'll drown in here. But the thing is, the hook will, the cord will take 805 pounds. So the only way you'll be able to do it, slams down a bottle, is by taking these fucking drugs. What do you do? And just leaves them in this locked room.
And I like how there's a point where, like, well, first off, Alfred manages to get in the boat and gets over to a sailor.
Yeah, I love how, like, Alfred, however you can, just sail north and find somebody who's safe.
That guy looks like Popeye, close enough. Yeah. And then like how at some point Batman says, like, all right, if I ever was going to take the pills, it'd have to be now because it takes this long for them to kick in, it takes this much time for them to wear off. So it'd have to be this minute now. Do I take the pills? And then he just thinks back, and that's where we get crackhead, foaming at the mouth, gargoyle Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I even love because like they use the thing when Batman looks at the pills. It literally has him. He's literally because he asks. He's like, "Well, I can't do it."
His hand's even shaking.
What I like is what Batman says to like the scientist guy. He's like, "Here's the thing." He's like, "I can't do it with just the pills alone. I'm gonna need protein. I'm gonna need weights. You know, I'm gonna need like fucking like posters of Arnold Schwarzenegger on the wall." he's like, and he gets all this stuff. So he asks for all these things, you know. And then Batman like he takes all the dumbbell or the plates off, and he starts bashing the fucking bar with it and just flattening it out. And that's when he looks over the pills. Nah, it just goes back to keep bashing him like in the same picture as Alfred's fucking out. And the son talking to himself like a crazy person. He's gonna be like at that point like in like the Watchmen when like a fucking bird flies down and just eats it alive.
Then goes through, and then from there he actually does get strong enough to do it all just on his sheer Batmanness.
Well, he gets creative because he builds like a contraption out of like, you know, the wood planks, the bar, and he starts pulling out like he's like, well, this is built by Spaniards in the 1600s, so I can just break it down like this, you know, and just pry out these like cubes, throw them up on this, you know, like kind of lever type thing, and then that will provide almost enough weight. And then as he kind of gets there, like on day 2.5 or whatever, he's
yeah, that's right. I forgot he built a
oh
contraption.
shit,
that's right.
Yeah, he builds that whole contraption. He's like, it's almost there, but I can't get any more out because the water's coming up. So he's gonna use my last bit of strength, and then he pulls the thing down, but he can't lock it like he's supposed to. So it gives him just enough time for the door to open up and fucking just like Indiana Jones his way through.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's one of those things that like I feel like a lot of comics are pretty good about that, but I think every so often that's something the movies have trouble getting. They're like, he may not be strong enough for a situation, but he's strong enough to think himself out of a situation. Like a part that I loved, and not to go back to Scott Snyder, but like Scott Snyder's Court of Owls story is at some point he's fighting Lincoln March, and Lincoln March is stronger and faster and has all these things. But Batman is just waiting for that one little moment where he gets attacked like a little mine on him when he wasn't looking. And that's what wins the fight.
Yeah, because that is the sort of thing, you know what the movie sort of need? It's like not exactly like this, but almost like, you know, like how in the Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr. ones, how he's always kind of like thinking things out. Like that's like very like almost like the Batman part that's always somewhat kind of missing from the movies is almost like Batman's Sherlock Holmes kind ofness.
Yeah, they
it's
need
not saying it's not there, you know, a bit, but they need it like almost so much more. Where like he has those like super well thought out kind of scene, just like this scene right here, how he gets himself out of this death trap kind of like dungeon situation here.
Yeah, because I feel like that, and not to always bring it to the fighting things, but there's other examples where he's always in some kind of death trap, and he just manages to like, you know, he was like, there's one issue where he was testing out like you go to an experimental section somewhere in Arkham, try and test out their new hardware and their new gear. And he's like, all right, well, here's how this guy would get out of here if he was to get out of this particular one. And he's like, I know the panels are weak right here because the screws are at this angle, making it that much weaker. So they have to use a different kind of screw, making it, and he rips it off. And then from there, it's like, okay, I have a vial of acid actually in my hand. I actually have to cut out this callus that formed there 2 months ago, and I got this little vial of acid. I'm out of here, you know. So there's those like crazy psychotic level of detail that like Batman goes into that I think that like, I mean, we only really see in the comics.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's like he almost needs a little bit more like he needs to go like National Treasure on some of these things, because I feel some of these other people are taking those like Batman cues and using them in other movies.
Yeah, using it against him.
But yeah, like I love that part where he breaks his way out of there and so on. And of course, once he gets out, there's a couple of goons out there, and he fights them off. And all Batman's thinking about is like, shit, there's gonna be more Timmys out there. More Timmys. He was such a good boy, but can't have them Timmys running around being all hopped up on drugs.
And that's where, like, by this point, Timmy's full Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, Timmy's just like the machine now, and his dad's still not happy. He's like, still not Olympic level gold medalist winning, you know, killing machine yet. He's like, I want more. And then of course Batman fucking breaks through the window and whatnot. As the general gets to the point too. I forget, like he actually the scientist guy. He's like, he ends up like fucking turning on him. He's like, fuck the scientist guy. He's like, I know how to torture people. You know, I learned how to in the Contras.
And that's where he even says something to the effect of like, I'll tell you anything you want. Just give me anything. Like, oh no, I know you're too vindictive of a little brick to let this go. So here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna do A, which means I'm gonna kill you quickly and painlessly, or you're gonna do B, which means you're gonna die long and slow. So how are we gonna do this?
Yeah, no matter what, he's gonna fucking die, but it just depends on how much he wants to.
I like the honesty of that, because we never get that. They always give that little false hope, like, no, you're gonna die. You are gonna fucking die, but here's the two options for it.
Yeah, that's what that's what I like about this general character. I mean, this guy is like just pure evil, but that's what I almost kind of like about him. He's like, he's just this machine, just like looking to find a way to sort of get back in the army, because you kind of learn all these other things along the way too. Like apparently he kills his own wife because she was too fucking weak, but Timmy doesn't know that, but Batman tells him that. I think that happened earlier on when he's trying to break Timmy free of like his mind's like, but your mom, you want to know how she died? She died by your father, Timmy. You can't love a man like that. But he's like, I love my father. My father's the greatest man ever. It's like, no, Timmy, it's wrong, Timmy.
Well, he's fighting Timmy, and he almost like doesn't beat Timmy physically. I'm not sure if Batman this early in the game could be down a Timmy. We're like, Timmy! But, I mean, he would probably be like, if he like lost the wheelchair, you know. But like I'm gonna say, I'm not sure if Batman this early in the game could beat this Timmy, because I feel like the whole thing with it is he's just too inexperienced, and this guy is like a supervillain. And they even say at some point, this is the closest thing we're gonna get to a Superman. They say that at some point when working on Timmy. And they have, you find out, I guess they have, one of the ways they control Timmy is they have a tape recorder of different sayings. And I'm not sure where this comes in, maybe I missed it, but someone hits the tape recorder that says, kill me! And that's where he starts strangling the
dad?
The general, his dad, yeah. And that's just, I killed my dad, what'd I do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's even the part, too, where the scientist kind of like, oh, thanks, I've been fucking saved and whatnot. And he's like, well, yeah, see, I told you, you had to take those drugs. That was the only way you got out of there. And then Batman's like, nope, didn't take the drugs. Pours them out, like, on top of him.
And then, like, at some point, he's like, oh, yeah, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to totally, like, I'll be out of Arkham in, like, one day. Just wait you see. I'm going to be your next big villain. And he, like, takes a bunch of those pills. They're taking him away. They're like, all right, whatever. And then that's where you find out. Like, I think Alfred says it, or maybe Gordon, I don't remember who. But they basically say, yeah, that asshole died, actually. He like, bent the bars, but, I mean, you know, he didn't have any physical discipline. He didn't work out like you did. So, yeah, it gave him momentary strength, and it made him way stronger than what he usually was. But then it sent him into cardiac arrest, and his body wasn't made for those pills. They're designer drugs, so he's dead. So it's like this guy. So it's like this guy's kind of like, damn my hubris.
Yeah, because like the guy, well, that's sort of the thing. Is like that almost happens when people take PCP and they fucking like kick out a police store or something like that. Well, the next day, they're fucking destroyed. Mm-hmm. You know, it makes their body so that it goes to the point where it like will fire all the neurons so that like it can use like the max amount of strength, takes off all the fucking governors and safety protocols, and just and that's almost like sort of like what happened there. So I felt like that's like a very like sophisticated way that like they showed how that guy killed himself almost in a sense. You know, without explaining like the little extra like in-depth details there, but just like I don't know, just the way this whole book's written is like it's so fucking good the whole way.
I didn't think about it up until now, but this feels kind of like a Batman, maybe not Jack Ryan, but like a Batman Tom Clancy style story. Just because, you know, you got this disgrace, like a smaller scale one, but one like maybe like one of those little between stories. You know, like this isn't like Sam Fisher's main villain, but maybe like a little between seasons kind of villain sort of thing, or like bonus stage kind of deal. Because like the idea of like these, you know, disgraced general, pharmaceutical experimentations. I mean, I guess you can lend that to a comic, but it's like, it doesn't really have that big, flashy bombasticness that most comic books have.
No, because really at the end of the day, it almost is kind of like, it's almost like even like Jack Reacher or something like that. It's like, it's in that kind of category that like, okay, Batman's in there and Batman's wearing a costume, but literally if you just remove the Batman costume, like, that's all you'd have to do, nothing else. Just remove the Batman costume. Hell, you could even make Batman just, like, just a vigilante, and that's all he is. He's a guy who just goes out of his way to save people, but he dresses maybe like the Matches Malone character in Only, and you know what I mean. And it could work, but I think that's almost kind of what makes it an interesting story.
Or it's even like just even take away the whole vigilantiness. If it's like a CIA agent who has a contact and it just unfolds from there, and he has all these different resources, and different like contacts, so he has access to all this crazy shit that only someone like Batman would have. So I think that's what's interesting about this story is it does feel kind of like it doesn't have to be a Batman story, but it still fits itself very much like just how it's more of like this is I think more than anything a character study on Batman of just kind of like his sheer will. And I know the thing is, a lot of times someone like Grant Morrison or whoever will, I mean to say Grant Morrison or whoever, Grant Morrison's an amazing writer, but you know what I mean? I feel like someone like Grant Morrison like gives him this unstoppable will, but to the level of him being like a superhero. Like a suit like that's unnatural how he could pull all that shit off. No regular person could do that. And this one, it's a little bit more of like, okay, yeah, it's still a little fantastical in some ways, the way it is like contraption or whatever. But really, it's really just like, it's a lot more grounded. And usually I don't like my stuff too grounded, but every so often it's actually nice to have a Batman book a little grounded.
Yeah, well, this is one of those ones that's grounded, but it doesn't feel like it's like grounded, like it's taking away anything. It just happens to be this kind of like story where, just Batman's kind of fighting against these generals and the scientists and whatnot, and he's learning about his limitations almost, because that's sort of like what it is. It's the limitations that you sort of have, and the fact that like, do you dare take the drug that can enhance those limitations, or is it best to kind of, in a sense, get creative and think your way around those limitations, making yourself stronger that way with what resources you have?
That's probably a more eloquent way to put it than what I was saying. I think it is like just this idea of just we see Batman kind of at his lowest. I mean, I think at the time his lowest was meant to be death of Jason Todd or losing to Bane, which I'm not sure. This book came out before.
This book's before Bane,
so it's not some like little like thing they did retroactively. Okay, that's cool. All right. So I didn't know that. I assumed this is a book where they're like, you know what? Let's incorporate Venom somehow. Let's do a little flashback story. That's cool. It's before Bane. Well, anyway, as I was saying, I think that it's cool that like this is a book where it is a little bit more grounded, but it still feels like Batman. But it's almost like anything more of like just a character study on his sheer will and like what he can do. It's one of those ones because every so often, like Batman will just throw out some ridiculous knowledge that like nobody would know off the top of their head, but since he's Batman, he can get it done. And this one, it's a little bit more of like, no, that's actually kind of reasonable. That's a little bit more reasonable. I mean, I know at some point he lifts up a fridge and throws it through a building, but
he's hopped up on PCP Venom. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like I feel like that's all kind of part of like the drugs and so on. But the thing, it almost has that kind of, I guess you would say, almost like 007 Dr. No kind of feel, where like he thinks things out almost more kind of on his own and what he has around him than technically using like all the gadgets and like. Almost like the easy, like, Deus Ex Machina type, like, hey, we'll fix it this way. You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, like, oh, okay, well, this is what I have here. This is what I can get. This is how we're going to build. Almost like, he literally, like, at the very end, he, like, MacGyver's his way out of that fucking, like, dungeon.
In all honesty, I feel like that if you change, like, the way the characters look and took Harvey Dent out of it, this could easily be kind of like, oh, here's a little like tie-in graphic novel between Batman Begins and Dark Knight. Like, because it has that very kind of, I mean, I know this book came out way before then, but it just has that very grounded feel, but to where it still feels like Batman. Because I feel like every so often people try to do like, we want to do realistic Batman, but they're just afraid to kind of lean into it. Mainly like Dark Knight Rises.
Well, that's kind of true, because when you do kind of think about this actually has, like, it does feel like it could easily fit with those Christopher Nolan ones. And then also when you kind of say, like, that kind of, like, Sam Fisher, like, Jack Reacher, like, all those, like, it almost has that feeling way before those things even were, like, I mean, granted, I guess the books might have been around by that kind of point. But you know what I mean? Like, before that was kind of like that 2000 style. That, the Bourne Identity, because that's
Jason Bourne, yeah.
Because that's sort of where all that stuff. That shit. I feel like without Bourne Identity, you might not even get to like something like Batman Begins. It might have had like a different take by that point if that movie didn't exist.
So I feel like this book, and this is like, once again, this is one of those books I would, whenever I go into like a comic book store or like a Barnes & Noble or something, and I would see it, I would just be like, I'll get to it. You know, there's other books I want to read first. And even when I finally got it, I'm like, well, I should get this just because I heard you praise it as much as you did. And then I'm like, well, you know what? Dennis O'Neil is a really fantastic writer, and I need more of his books, so why not? Okay, then I read it, expecting to be like, okay, that was a fun read. But I was like, oh no, this is legitimately really good. Because, you know, every so often, I mean, you like building up your comic collection, but every so often there's those books like, okay, I got this for the collection, probably never going to read that again. But then there's the ones where you do get, and they got it for the collection, but they seem to like, you know what, I'm probably going to read this every few years because this is such a good book.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was like this one. I kind of had the same thing too, where like I got it maybe like 8 years ago or something like that. But it was that kind where it's like, you know, you kind of put it off. You know what I mean? And then it's just like one day I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy that one. Why not? Let's just see what it was. And it was just like, oh shit, this is fucking a good Batman book. This is a lot more intense than I even kind of thought. Like I wasn't even expecting all this. You know, I was just kind of expecting to be maybe like, you know, like sometimes you get some of those like kind of like. They always feel like this kind of like extra Batman stories. Not saying anything against them, but you know, there's those ones you just kind of find miscellaneous here and there, and it's just like, oh well, that was fun. You know, didn't really change my mind on anything. But no, the Batman Venom one, I feel it's up there real hard with all the other big books, and it's something different all at the same time too. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't match a whole lot of other Batman books.
I wouldn't put it in my personal top 10, but I get if someone else did. I don't have any real complaints about the book. There's so many Batman books I do love, and this one, really good, really fantastic. And if you are, this is actually one where you don't even need to read a bunch of comics to really keep up with it, because it's just Batman and Alfred, and then a bunch of people. Batman, Alfred, Commissioner Gordon, they mention Harvey Dent, and then everybody else is just characters for this book. Which a prejudice I used to have when I was younger was like one-shot villains. Or why am I learning about this guy if I'm not going to see him again, or, you know, whatever. But now I'm actually at the place where I'm okay with one-shot villains. Like, okay, so unless you're going to use someone really random, like KG Beast, or the Phosphorus Man, or whatever, Dr. Phosphorus, whatever the fuck his name is, or, you know, just some really weird, offbeat characters. Are we going to... I mean, I still like seeing Joker and Scarecrow, but after a while, you just get a little like, okay, somebody else. Someone other than these main five.
Yeah. Well, no, I kind of agree. Like, at this point, I actually like the Batman stories where it's like, oh, there's nobody in here I know but Batman. Like, I almost look more forward to those kind of books than anything else, even if they are just kind of one-off things. Like, that sometimes can be almost a little bit just more interesting, because it's like, I don't know what I'm going to get into. Shit, Batman fights a fucking shark in this one. Come on.
That's the real villain. I mean, shit, if you just put a poster for the next movie that they said, they're going to do Batman Venom, just strictly Batman Venom for the next Batman movie. Me, as a fan, I'd be like, that's really cool, but that's a ballsy choice, because there's no Venom, there's no villains in it. But, like, in the trailer, just see him just punching a fucking shark. Like, oh, alright, yeah, cool, that's how you get a show for the trailer. Just him, like, shark in a headlock, just socking it, like, summer 2023.
I mean, it really is. It's like one of those ones, because, yeah, the Venom one would be, like, a hard sell for, like, a movie, just to be like, well, who's the villain in it? Well, it's this dirty general guy, like, wait... No, not Jack Reacher 3. What fucking movie? Like the Batman Venom one. Like no, that's the one we're talking about.
Or dirty general guy and his Forrest Gump ass son. You make me happy.
That's right.
Throw a bit of Simple Jack in there too. Why not?
Yeah,
he looks more like Simple Jack actually now that you look at him.
Yeah, he really does. You know,
like a jacked Simple Jack, really.
And he is like that kind of guy who's like, he's only just like that borderline, just borderline. Like he probably did go to, well, he didn't go to public school because let's face it, he's with that general. That general guy probably just like kept him at home. God knows what, like stay in the shadows, boy.
He was probably like that Kennedy they kept in the fucking attic. JFK's dad would go up there every so often, give him fish heads, you know? So.
Yeah, one of those ones. Like, get the fucking pitchfork out to keep him back.
Bad Mumbo! Bad Mumbo!
But yeah, Yeah. No matter what, though, this Batman book, good times. Fucking check it out. More Batman parties to be had in the future. Any final thoughts on this bad boy?
Don't be like, if you like Batman, don't be like me and put this book off. It's definitely worth reading.
Yeah, exactly. Shit, I'll even say I put it off, but I just put it off, I guess slower than you.
Well, you get those books where you just you buy them. Like, I'm gonna get to reading this. I mean, I have books from like before I even moved to the Bay Area that I have not read yet. So, but this is one that I read pretty immediately shortly after I got it. I'm glad I did. So.
Yeah, all around good times, but beyond that, go to oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, more comic books like Pizza Boys, more animations like Drunk Batman, and all that other fun stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comics Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comics Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunnigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again, we're out of here.